Oh, my infinite buckets of love. How is everyone doing? Are we hanging in there? I surely am. Um, First, I wanted to just say to a lot of people, this is very important for me to say. A lot of you on here are very much what I would call spiritual soldiers, okay? You're not religious soldiers, you're not um, dogmatic type of soldiers. You're basically people that are trying to be good and do the best you can. And that to me is a spiritual soldier, a spiritual warrior. And it's important, and I'm led to say that those efforts you're putting in, believe me, they do not go unrewarded. They do not just fall into an abyss and nothing happens. They are basically cosmically recorded, okay, and recognized not only by your higher self, your spiritual self, but by the universal energies, okay? And the universe does sort of keep tabs in the sense that we know that basically everything is energy, right? So the universe knows the energy put out and not put out, right? Because the universe is a perfect accountant, okay? And nothing, no effort at all is wasted, um, is frivolous. So, like I said, when I say to the spiritual soldiers, you spiritual warriors out there, I don't mean the people that are necessarily going to church every Sunday or meditating regularly, or not that that's a bad thing or a good thing, but the people that are actively trying to be the best person that they can be in the best way that they know how to be. The universal accountant knows this and keeps tabs on it. And that energy comes back in ways that you cannot even imagine, and in ways that you can't even predict. Okay. And how does that energy come back? It comes back in the form of an idea that you need, a solution that you've been asking for, people or circumstances put in your path to help you. Okay. See, all the universe or your spiritual self wants you to do is try, put forth the energy. Once you do that, the universe will help you and almost match that energy. And sometimes it exceeds the energy you put out. So I needed to tell so many of you on here that your efforts are never, ever in vain. Ever. The cosmic recorder, the universal accountant. And I love that. I think I'm brilliant for thinking of that because it's tax season. But honestly, it wasn't me that thought about that. It was that was given to me. Oh well. But it's so apropos, don't you think? the universal accountant. Perfect ledger, perfect columns, energy out, energy back. That's just how it works. Okay? So, to all those still trying to be the best possible you that you can be, however you're trying to do it, a universal thumbs up. Now, that one is just me. All right. So, and I just want to say that was a very loving message from the other side. And I hope that most of you took it that way and run with it. Okay? All right. So I am not going to do my near death experience stuff today. And mainly because I'm not led to yet. I know it's coming, but I'm just not led to do it yet. So once I am, I will, you know me, I'll do it. Period. Boom. I feel that there's probably some other things that I'm needed to talk about today. You know, spirit is, the energies are very fluid, very flowing, and they're always kind of right on time. So I have learned that I need to go with them, and I've been doing that most of my life. I mean, I got my moments, like we all do, especially like I told you, if I've been driving in the car, ooh, rough. All right, let's run down some really good things going on, okay? Here's one thing. So, as a result of the DT administration firing a lot of the FAA personnel and trying to roll back regulations and blah. I didn't know this, but I found out through multiple sources, and you guys can Google it yourself. There are now many pilots who are basically refusing to fly. They're either taking off sick, and then there's also sort of a more coordinated effort of them sort of striking, okay? Not just basically refusing to fly, okay? And the reason, because they know better than anyone, if you have too many shortages of certain airports, in the tower, etc., it's not good for them. And look, you got to remember, pilots are more concerned with their lives than you would think, right? I mean, yeah, they care about their passengers, but they're in the same plane. So kudos for those pilots taking a stand. And that, of course, will eventually have a big effect on the airline industry. And as that gets more and more noticeable with not only people now being more afraid to fly, um, it's going to change a lot of things. I already see, and I've told you guys weeks now, there's going to be a lot of things that this administration is going to walk back on, and they've already walked back on quite a few things. Um, and that's going to be one of them. Um, Another thing is prediction. A lot of these people that are just blanketly getting fired will be returning to their jobs. I've been seeing that they will be brought back in. Okay. Uh, not all of them, but a lot will. Also, I told you guys that I see Social Security in a bubble, untouchable, basically. Um, I didn't see the same bubble for Medicare and Medicaid, okay? But it's not going to be the gut cuts that Republicans have threatened. And the reason is because they're going to realize they can't. They just can't. Okay? So, um, but a lot of, and you're going to start hearing about people being brought back in more and more um, that have been let go. And wonderful. The breathtaking incompetency, cruelty, and lack of compassion of this administration is like a vacuum, right? It's like a void. And that void it's not in alignment with universal law of love, right? And so there's literally no energy to it, right? And so that will be filled as time goes on with the energy of love. And that's what I see. How specifically, I'm not sure, but I just see, in other words, what I saw was a big, excuse me, sort of like desert space, which is what they've tried to create. But I just see the waves of love moving in, the waters moving in, and it will eventually, excuse me, it's going to be very concrete how we're going to see that love filling in those gaps. Okay. So, um, here's another interesting thing. Dr. Phil, remember, major supporter of Trump, went out there and just blasted his support, completely walked that back. That was recently. Completely walked back his support. And it's funny because back when he was introduced by O, I never liked him. There's something about him that just, I saw he was duplicit, um, and he had zero integrity. And I was eventually proved right. And he's now basically, I don't know what he's feeling, don't even care, but he walked back his support. So isn't that interesting? The German far right party lost in Germany yesterday. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have this right? My heart to you guys. So that's the party that Elon went over there and JD Vance went over there and campaigned and spoke and supported the far right, um, and rah rah rah, and well, guess what? They lost. Now, Don the Con tried to say that they came in second place, which they did. But here's the hilarious thing, okay? And I had to educate myself on this. So here's the funny thing. The German government is a little bit different than the United States. There's literally not one party that basically wins unless they win a sort of super majority. So if a party doesn't win a super majority, what they do is they form a coalition with the other parties that sort of got, support of their choosing, right? So normally, say for instance, the party that won yesterday, which was the middle conservative party, nothing like our Republicans, by the way. They're not, just because it's conservatives, they're not like our Republicans here. So the middle conservative party won. outright. So um, normally they would choose the party that came in second, right? Because then that would mean that would push them over the supermajority. Well, the far right party, which was supported by Don the Khan and EM and JD, um, they won, right, second place. But the party that won, the mid right party, is not choosing them in their coalition. They chose every other party in the coalition to represent the government. So the far right party will not be included in that coalition. Oh, you have to love that. And I told you guys, this is not the energies now do not favor that far right um, crap. It's just not going to happen. We're just in the beginning stages of seeing the far right here trying to get their last gasp of power. It's just not going to happen the way they think. But it's just a beautiful thing to see that the far right party um, is just won't be included in the German government. Not only that, France has is threatening to block EM um, and his Starlink stuff. This I'm not this I know is happening, but I'm not sure I'm saying it right. But France has also threatened to block EM Starlink unless he bows out of trying to influence the French government and their politics. Okay, and a lot of other countries are basically kind of threatening the same thing. So you gotta love that big L for Don the Khan and his cronies. The Eagles, the winners of this year's Super Bowl, have declined their visit to the White House. Go Eagles. I love how they're just standing on principle and just saying, nah, we're not doing that. Beautiful thing. EM sent out a email that told people, hey, respond in 5 bullet points what you did last week. And if you don't respond, we'll consider it a resignation. And now, several of the department heads of these agencies are saying, telling their people, do not respond, including the new psychopath director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Isn't that interesting? More on that. Migrants who were at Guantanamo Bay, they were put there as prisoners, migrants. They weren't even hardened criminals. They were just migrants who this administration determines were illegal. Well, I guess because of all the pushback and them being sued by the ACLU, they have been moved out of that facility, that inhumane facility. So that's a wonderful, good thing. Uh, let's see. Oh, the legal aid that was halted. Biden had provided legal aid to minors. The Trump administration came in and halted them getting aid. So now these minors, these children, were representing themselves. So Trump had to rescind that, and now they are being represented. So that's a good thing. Like I said, a lot of things would be undone, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And Another prediction I have is these town halls. I mean, I can't even list them all now. I told you guys about them last week. So many have happened. I'm sure most of you have seen them. The pushback from basically not Democrats but Republicans. Well, now there's just so many, and it's all basically the same. They're just these Republican politicians are just getting trounced. Um, that it's too many to report. But anyway, I just see that eventually they're going to end. Excuse me. They're going to stop those town halls, but that's okay. Um, that's fine because the people will be expressing themselves in other ways. The people are not going to be silenced now. And as a matter of fact, once those town halls end, I think things are going to get even louder, much more unruly, and even violent. And people feel fear that Trump is going to use the military, and that will be in some cases. But the problem is the military can't be everywhere all at once. Get it? Can't be everywhere all at once. It's so. Just remember, I said that though. The town halls will be coming to an end. All right. And one last thing that I just kind of wanted to state before I get into the questions, which if you guys, these questions are brilliant, brilliant. Um, the orbs and the sightings of ships have been almost completely suppressed as far as news coverage, but they're even picking up even more. See, I know where to look. I go to different countries' sites, and they're much more open about reporting them. They are picking up big time. There are so many sightings now in the United States. It's incredible. I mean, you can just scroll for hours on the sightings. So, all right. Anyway, I want to do this question. I believe will answer so much for so many people. Please explain within your truth, and they have that in quotes, how love, capitalized, allowed the Holocaust and other genocide events for the higher good, quotes, of all those souls caught up in them. So basically, the person saying is, how can we say that love is love with these events like the Holocaust and whatever else? So, what's interesting is I have a chapter in my second book, and it's titled COVID, and it's basically answers this in a much more detailed manner, but I'm going to answer it here as briefly as I can. I think that's an excellent question. I'm glad it was asked. So, we all know that when we come into an incarnation, whether it's here or elsewhere, especially a planet that has karma, okay, because not all planets have karma, okay, because some planets are basically strictly for, I'll say, vacation or pleasure or just to exist in a beautiful, a relatively beautiful, serene existence, okay? But to the planets that do have karma, karmic energies, Earth is definitely one of them, but not the worst of them. Um, this is where we come to balance our energies, things that we've done. So I want you to think about this. Think back through the long history of this world. how many wars were fought, how many killings happened, how many murders happened, how many whatever happened. Okay? Well, spiritually, you come here for a multitude of reasons, but one of the reasons you come here is to balance out your karma, to fulfill those karmic obligations, to balance out that energy, right? Okay? Well, how can you do that? Through certain events happening to you so that you can experience the pain and anguish and whatever else that you may have inflicted upon others. Okay? So when you have events like the Holocaust or the massacres that have happened or civil wars, those are sort of collective mass events where many people can rectify that karma, their karmic obligations. So for them not to experience it is actually depriving them of balancing out those energies. That's not being cold or cruel or heartless. It's a reality. Think about this. What if you've done something that is so horrible that eventually you feel like, oh my God, I've got to rectify this situation. And you want to rectify it, but the person is completely gone. Maybe they moved to another country, or they went somewhere you don't know where they went, or God forbid they pass, and you can't rectify your actions. That not only creates a stain on your spirit, but there's no balance there. There's there is no satisfaction of balancing those energies, right? So the universe, like I've told you guys many times, is never, ever, ever, ever cruel, unjust, unfair. Okay? There have been many disastrous events caused by people throughout this long history here on earth. And these types of situations, although they're horrific, are giving people the chance to balance those energies, to rectify their karma. Okay? So the universe and how it operates is complex at times. We certainly don't know all the answers. I certainly don't. Not, and I won't. Not on this plane. None of us will. But suffice to say, the universe, like I said, is never cruel, never unjust, never unfair. It runs on perfection. Period. Okay. And another thing, besides rectifying karma, think about this too. Those situations, those massive horror events, also serve as a marker for us to say, you know what, we don't want to repeat that. That's another use. We don't want to go there ever again. We don't want to repeat that. And that helps step up some people mentally and spiritually to go higher, to go to a much higher understanding of how they want to live and act. Okay? Now, that question coincides with this next one that I also thought was quite good. Um, Please let me find it. Oh, this person says, and it wasn't even a question, it was just a statement they made, but it links right to this previous one. Maybe I was terrible in another life because much of my life has been nightmarish. Okay. So, to those who maybe feel that they have pulled the short stick in this life and is just like, what the F did I sign up for? Well, there's also a certain thing where you can have a sort of what I call a retribution life. You take a bunch of different karma that you need to balance, okay, and kind of jam it all into one life. So you kind of get it over with. You're like, look, I don't want to come back to this and do this and then come here and then just do this and then come. I want to just, you know what, give it basically most of it to me in one shot and uh, let me just get it over with. That happens. That happens. And you kind of basically um, get rid of a lot of your karmic obligations in one shot. Yes, it's a rough life, super rough, but you're happy once once you've done that, you're like, phew. And that's, a lot of times when you see people that have like those great, good, wonderful, nothing never happens to them lives, more than likely they've kind of earned a vacay life. They took that life, um, that hardship life, did pretty well, survived it, got through it, and guess what? They earned a vacay. So I hope that helps with that person that feels like this life is like nightmarish. Um, and even then, there's a lot that can be done about that life, but I'm not going to get into that now. Um, but suffice to say that those nightmarish lives are literally propelling you. Um, it's sort of like speed dating, but with life events. Okay, let's see. Do I have another question that I wanted to cover here? Oh, yes. Ah, I love this question. Simple question here. Do you have to say your prayer out loud for your angels to answer? I'm asking because I recently heard from a popular trans medium that's what you must do do must to in order for them to know what you want. No. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to think what you want to pray about. Um, Believe it or not, and I'm not sure where that they say it's a trans medium gets that from, but you people do realize that spirit um, flows and goes into the wavelength of our thoughts and our desires. Okay, speaking is a human quality. There is no spoken in the spirit world. So, why they would say that that's the way that the spiritual side needs to hear or receive a prayer or a desire, to me that absolutely, like, no, no. um I'm gonna have to firmly disagree with uh that uh idea. So, like I said, the spiritual existence, it functions on spiritual energy, spiritual waves, uh, the spiritual plane. Okay, this is the 3D plane, the condensed plane, right? And even your innermost desires, okay, they can pick up on. A lot of times you don't even have to voice or express them. You can certainly think them, communicate via thought, pure thought, feeling, they pick up on. If you want to speak it, they will transform. They don't hear it like you speak it, but what the spiritual side does, it transforms the energies from the spoken thought or the spoken word. Okay, but it transforms and translates that into spiritual energies. Okay, so you can you can think it, you can feel it, you can desire it. That's all considered a desire, a prayer, a request, whatever. Okay, um please don't limit your prayers, your desires, to the spoken word. That's no, 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 absolutely not. It's just like the feeling of love towards someone. That is a feeling that's in your heart center, correct? Right? You don't. You can say I love you, but the person may not feel it, but they will feel the love simply because you have a love there. The energy of love is there. They feel that energy. That's why actions speak louder than words, right? Because there's energy in the actions, there's energy in the desire. All right. And also, even though the person didn't quite say this, there is literally no, spirit doesn't require any strict rules for speaking to them or requesting um, anything, or, none of that. There's no strict rules. It reads energy, whether it comes spoken, thought, desire, through the heart, however. There is no, spirit has no guidebook, no rigid rules like we have here. Okay? So, absolutely no, 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 no on that. That's just definitely not the only way to communicate. Um, and as a matter of fact, I rarely say things out loud. When I need to commune with the spiritual energies, I'm typically in feeling intuit mode. I am typically, it's extremely non-verbal. And that's when, to me, it's most effective. The non-verbal. They hear that too, but they transform that. But it's definitely not the only way, and definitely not a requirement. Absolutely no, 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 no. So, I believe that is it for today. I just thank everybody for tuning in. I'll be back with you guys shortly. And oh, one other thing. A couple of people have been saying, we don't really know like some personal stuff about you, so I'll just throw out a couple little things. I love iced tea. I hate coffee. I'm an iced tea drinker. I drink iced tea all day, just about. I had to switch to decaf because I was staying up at night too much. I love gemstones because I saw that they are. I put this in my book. Um, my second book, they are condensed energy. They are the real deal. Gemstones are condensed energy from the spiritual realm. And part of them exist here in hardened form, and the other part exists in on the other side. And that is why they are so effective and they work so well. Love this. Another thing about me is I love to gamble. I'm a gambler. I'm not a nut with it. I try to have balance with it. As anything that we love to do, we should have a balance with. I have yet to gamble my rent money, my mortgage money, or my electric money, or my gas money, but I love to gamble. Slot machines, um, scratch offs. I like home if I feel like home when I go into the casino. And by the way, that's not considered a sin on the other side. Okay, just so you know, there's different things that are considered sinful. We've got it very wrong here. But anyway, let's see what else. I am not into cars. I'm I I've been driving a 15-year-old car until recently when it just, poor thing. But I've never been into cars. I'm not too much on uh oh no, I love exercising and I do exercise on a rebounder. That's a mini trampoline, and I'm pretty extremely regular with that. Um, I have quite a few grandchildren. I love them all dearly. They just bring me a lot of joy. And I love diamond art painting. As you can see by those are two of dozens I've done, completed. Um, I love doing it. It just is a way to focus my mind and So that's just a few things about me. I don't party. I'm not a go to the club person. I used to be many years ago, no more. Um, I've done a lot of traveling in my life, fortunately. My husband doesn't really like to, so fortunately for him, I've gotten that out of my system for the most part. Um, as any of you that read either of my books, you know I was in the military, so I was all around the world and even um, had my near death experience before I went into the military in another country. So he's lucky, or else I'd be dragging him by the earlobes around the world. But anyway, that's kind of it for me. I don't do much makeup, as you guys know, just usually lipstick and eyeshadow. And that's it. I'm not a trend person. I could care less. I'm going to look how I look, and so be it. I'm not a slave to fashion at all. And I just don't care. But all right, guys, take care. And my infinite buckets of love until we talk again.